excited because, yeah, I spoke here 2 years ago, but I was not able to stand for my talk. I had to sit down for the whole talk, and I'm so excited to be able to stand for this talk this time around, so that's awesome. And yeah, so within the past year I joined Strava. What I want to talk about is the chaos that activation can be, the whole space of activation. Onboarding included, emails, there's so much going on throughout it, and in order to manage that well, you have to understand what scenarios your users are coming in through, and then also you gotta have to kind of work with your team really well, figure out the right process for your team. So I want to show all of you kind of how we do that at Strava and show some fun examples and show you all, templates and things that we use in order to go through all that. Before I jump too deep, my background, I started off at Microsoft as a PM. Went on to Imager, I was their first PM over there. So it's kind of been this balance between enterprise and productivity on the left side, and then consumer and mobile apps on the right side. I did a startup for a couple years. It was kind of a collaboration tool for design teams. But yeah, so kind of all that has led me to Strava, and been having a good time. I am on Twitter at Gallello. If you're not on Twitter as a designer, honestly, it is so much fun. John Norman and Jared Spool got in a fight once. It was so funny to watch. Just do it. I'm not really on LinkedIn. You can connect with me, but you can see how obviously, I don't take it too seriously. I potato LinkedIn. If you do add me, it might take a few weeks. Anyway, so how many of you are familiar with Strava? Okay, about half or so. So we say it's the #1 app for runners and cyclists. It's a way to track your runs or rides. We also do all sorts of other things, skiing and yoga, and there's all sorts of other things, just general workouts. It's a place for you to kind of have all the activities from your active side of your life. What's also really cool, it kind of goes from the high end of I found out actually just 2 weeks ago, because the Tour de France is going on, I found out the organizers were using Strava to help plan the routes. Because on Strava you can actually figure out where are good places to go run and ride. Even people are uploading activities from Everest. This guy, he made 2 attempts, and the second time around he made it up, uploaded it to Strava, and all that activity, all the insights from kind of his pace and his elevation, which blows us all away. It was up there. But then also you end up getting the lower end of tier athletes, like this guy here. This is my favorite activity that I've uploaded to Strava. It's Mount Si up in Seattle. Has anybody been up there? 1 person, 2 people? Yes, it's such a beautiful mountain. So I did that run. It was 5 a.m. I got up and was running through the fog, and I was like, I have no idea if there's going to be a beautiful view. There ended up being a beautiful view. I was right above the clouds for sunrise. And all those memories and the insights from that run is captured on Strava, which I will always cherish. So even before joining Strava, I've always loved the product and loved what it does for me. Here you can see okay, I got a PR on that segment, Mount Si Trail to Talus Loop turn off, that kind of stuff. I can see kind of the general stats. I can see how terribly slow I was. Oh gosh. But it doesn't matter because my friends still gave me kudos, and that's, all that matters. Not really. But it is nice that even if you're having a slow day, people give you encouragement, and that's a core part of the platform. So again, I have this personal investment in how can we grow Strava, how can we help more people understand what Strava's all about. And we have an activation team at Strava, and our goal really is to show new athletes the value of Strava in order to really retain them. We want them to understand the side of Strava that is the social network. We want them to understand the side of Strava that gives them all sorts of really cool data after you come back home from a run or a ride. That being said, in addition to that, there's all sorts of other things that we have to think about throughout our onboarding flow, and I want to go through that a little bit more. So, just to start, again, going into the value of Strava, we have 2 tenets at Strava that I really particularly like, just personally. One is that people keep people active, and I love that because if you think about the history of sports and athletic life, it's always social. Sure, you go for a run solo and everything, but you are motivated by other people. You go on group runs, you meet up after a run or a ride and you go for beers. There's the Olympics, and that's been around for, thousands of years. I don't know how long the Olympics have been around, but so we kind of have taken that concept. We didn't invent that concept. We've taken that concept and applied technology to it. So in Strava, you have a feed, you have kudos and comments. Again, this is getting to the social network side of things. That's what we do best. And if you think about what is the value that we're actually providing to a user here, it's connecting athletes to the things that motivate them. That's kind of what we've summed up is this big value, whether it's an athlete connecting to another athlete, or you as just a casual runner connecting to your next goal, your next challenge, the next places that you want to go. How can we help connect you to that? So that's number one. And in order to provide a new user with the benefit of that value, we have to get them to do one pretty major thing, which is follow people that motivate you. So it's not like follow everybody on Facebook, but it's like, how can we get you to just follow the people that you care about? The ones who are going to motivate you, the ones who you're training with, all that kind of stuff. So in order to do that, we have a page in our onboarding flow where you can follow people, you can connect with Facebook to make it easier, but you can also just search for people and just hit the follow button and start populating your feed. So that's the first part. The second part is that life is best when you put your phone in your pocket and you go sweat. Another thing I really love, because in the world of we have too much technology and too much screen time, all that kind of stuff, what's really awesome is that Strava benefits by you putting your phone away. And what's great is that when you come back from a run or a ride, we're there ready with awesome stats and data that helps you make better insights and decisions about your training. So here's just kind of an example of an activity that I did. And for any given activity, we provide so much data. And honestly, this is just on mobile. We have even more on the web. There's all sorts of really cool stuff. And we want new users to experience this as soon as possible, right? That's super important. And no matter if you're training for your first 5K or you're training for your first ultra marathon, it doesn't matter. It's about kind of getting to your next level with all this data and insights. So if we think about what's the value that we're presenting here that we need to communicate to users early on, it's helping athletes reach their personal best. Now, in terms of what do we do to help new users kind of understand that and get exposed to that, we need you to upload your first activity, which is quite a challenge because a lot of people might download Strava in all sorts of different scenarios. They might not be ready for a run. So yeah, basically, this is our report screen. Ultimately, we need you to go outside. So you might imagine that our onboarding flow, if you think about, okay, those are the two big values, whatever. Okay, we have a registration form thing, then go follow people, all right, then go upload, right? That seems like maybe the easiest way to do things. And what I want to talk about in depth is why our onboarding flow is not that. It's actually much more complicated. It looks more like this. This is our onboarding flow for Strava. There's all sorts of twists and turns and forks and all sorts of things. You can take a photo and zoom in. You can also just see it on, try it out on the app later on. You'll see all the different things that we're doing. There's quite a bit. So what I want to talk about is why we have those splits. It's really that we're constantly optimizing, not just for the short term, getting people through this onboarding flow. We're really optimizing for long-term user success, long-term retention, helping people understand Strava in a continuous fashion. The second thing is designing for different user scenarios. As I briefly mentioned, people might be downloading the app in different scenarios, and we have to account for that. And then the last thing is how we set up our team and our process in order to really make sure that we can run a lot of experiments, optimize this flow quite a bit. So starting here, again, all sorts of different twists and turns. I mentioned the upload and follow piece, but then we have all sorts of other secondary things that we want new users to kind of do as well within their first session or whatever. Opting into emails, accepting community standards, that's a legal one. We have to do that, we have no choice. Of course, we do testing around it, but we can't just rip it out. So I want to go through an example, which is opting into emails. How many of you have done GDPR work? Okay, pretty good handful of you. You'll understand the importance of this. Basically, as a new user, we need you to actually confirm that you are willing to receive emails from us, specifically non-transactional emails, before we can actually kind of send you any of those things. So what does that really mean? So in our onboarding flow, after you sign up, we have you create a profile. The very next step is actually this screen that asks you, hey, can we contact you? Is that okay? And we provide examples of things that we will send you. We don't want to be sneaky about it. We are very open about that. Monthly stats, tips to get the most out of Strava, stories from the Strava community, all that kind of stuff. And this screen is really important for us because we have, again, some really great emails that drive long-term retention. So this is probably my favorite. It's our monthly stats email. We basically fire it off once a month to active Strava members. We don't want to send this off to people who are dropped off the platform. It would just be annoying. We don't want to annoy them. But it's really great, all these nice stats, and you could actually see the last 12 months, you can see where I started recovering from my injury. We even got to press on this recently. It was on Good Morning America, which was super cool. We didn't expect that. They were doing a segment on how you can start getting running and get motivation to start running, so that was awesome. But again, we have that, let's see. Yeah, so we have that screen. And what we look at there is, okay, what percentage of people are accepting the email consent, basically. And what we found as we were testing the screen, not just in terms of including it or not, but also variations of it, is that when we do things that improve the email consent rate, we sometimes actually lower the follow rate than the upload rate, which is a little bit weird because those are our kind of our primary things that we go for, right? We've really learned that there's this balance here between these secondary metrics and primary metrics. And sometimes it is okay to decide, hey, we do want email consent, we do want to drive email consent, even at the expense of a little bit of, our rates of following and upload, that kind of stuff. In order to really make those decisions, you just have to think about what is the value of an incremental percentage point of email consent versus an incremental percentage point of uploading or following. It's kind of like fuzzy math, but that's the way we kind of make these decisions. And we've really done that exercise for a lot of these. We've ultimately decided that kind of there below, connecting a device, setting a profile photo, those aren't necessarily things that we need to drive really, really early on at the beginning. And so we have secondary flows for that we, users can opt into. So again, at the end of the day, it's thinking through what is most important, but then also being open to what else drives long-term user success. There I walked through the example of emails, but it kind of extends to other things. Accepting a trial for Summit, which is our premium kind of feature, our paid version of the app. There's that. There's all sorts of other things, the notification side as well. So those are all things that are super important for us. All right, so designing for different user scenarios. I mentioned before, you might be downloading Strava in different use cases, or in different scenarios. Let's say I'm in bed. Excuse me. Let's say I'm in bed and I see Strava online. I'm searching around and I, see somebody tweeting about it or something. I download Strava, and then here we are, Strava. Hey, go for a run now. Let's all go. And we're not going to get you, right? No matter what we do, there's really nothing that will get you out of bed to go for a run. And so we kind of have to accept that at a certain point, right? So what we've done is actually, we've designed around that. So we have this screen that we launched recently. We've been testing it in different iterations, but it's kind of out there now. It's the ready to record screen. And basically, if you are ready to go for a run, great, we will take you to the record screen. But if you're not ready to go for a run right now, totally understand. We then optimize for something else. So in this version, we optimize for upload rate, right? We're getting people to upload. But if you hit later, we then optimize for getting you to follow people, build your social network, start kind of understanding the social side of Strava. And that is true value. So when you start having an actual interesting feed of content, that's actually really great. You start seeing why you might why it might be worth going for a run. So that's kind of one scenario that we've designed for. Another thing, both kind of through research and market data and all sorts of different things, we have different signals. We've learned that kind of a large portion of our traffic comes through word of mouth, which is really awesome. High NPS, lots of people have good feelings and vibes about the product that we deliver. And so what we realized is we can actually design for this. We can design for this in the onboarding flow. So we have a screen here. I don't know if you can read it. It says, did someone tell you about Strava? And the subtext is, if a friend told you to join Strava, search for them to get connected. So it's like, okay, if you're not going to follow a ton of people, follow one person. Like, who is the one person that matters to you right now? Probably the person who invited you to Strava or told you to download it. Go follow them, and then you'll really start understanding what the value of Strava is here. So that was a really cool test that kind of, hey, we're able to kind of capture you even if you are in bed or at a bar or wherever you are. There's still stuff that you can do to understand Strava. So again, consider these scenarios. All right. So the last piece is kind of how we set up ourselves as a team for success, given all the chaos that's going on throughout our onboarding flow. We are constantly running A/B tests throughout our onboarding flow. I mean, throughout our whole app, but definitely throughout our onboarding flow. Our goal actually, we're trying to get to 600 tests across the company this year. There's quite a lot going on. And so if we think about our, let's see, the team goal, the activations team goal, okay, showing new athletes the value of Strava in order to retain them. What we want with each of these tests is to drive more retention, right? That's ultimately like, okay, somebody's staying on the platform longer, that's great. Now let's say we took like 4-week retention as our success for a test. The problem with that is, okay, we launch a test, we make some feature, we launch a test, we have to wait 4 weeks until we see if that person has stuck around from sign up to continuing to upload and follow and stay engaged on the platform. It takes so much time. So ultimately it would probably take on the order of like 5 or 6 weeks. And we don't want to wait that long because we have other tests we gotta go, that we gotta launch. So what we've done is done a little bit of analysis, and we've looked at what are the core actions that users take that correlate best with 4-week retention, long-term retention. And what's actually really awesome is that they exactly line up with the value of Strava, which is, hey, uploading and following. So upload 7 is one of our core metrics, percentage of athletes who upload an activity within the first 7 days. We have found that to be like a very good indication of success, as well as following. Are you following at least one person within the first 7 days? So the reason we chose 7 days, if you think about kind of your athletic life and how you run and ride or whatever, you're probably not doing that every day. Some people are, but like not me. I go for like an exercise, a little ride, maybe once or twice a week. And so it kind of accounts for that factor, basically. So even if you sign up for Strava, we wait 7 days to see, did you go for a run on Strava and upload it. So again, these are really awesome because they correlate with the 4-week retention. They're actually also great because they're easier to impact. So any test that we run, if we make a small improvement and we try to look at, does that really increase 4-week retention, like we might not get a statistically significant answer. But it's really important that we still understand, was that test valuable or was that feature valuable? So we're able to see more of an impact on upload 7 and follow 7, which is great. And then the last thing is also, when it comes to focusing the team on like 1 or 2 things at a time, if we did brainstorm for 4-week retention, we would come up with all sorts of crazy ideas. And like, I think having focus during a brainstorm is super important. So we are always thinking about how can we specifically improve upload and follow, and that just kind of keeps us focused, and we have kind of that sense of ownership over a goal, which is great. So these are fast metrics. They allow us to move much faster and ultimately test more things throughout the year. Another thing that's really awesome, and I actually haven't seen this before quite as much to the extent that we do it at Strava, is that everybody participates in product. So you might ask, like, okay, Chris, so if you're a product manager, then what do you do if everybody's doing product work? The way I think about it, and we've talked about this amongst the team, is that the whole team is kind of, our goal is to climb a mountain. Me as a product manager, I can help figure out and decide which mountain to climb, and once we kind of have a direction, we know which mountain we're going to go after, all of us as a team, we swarm, and we go after that mountain. We come up with ideas, we brainstorm, everybody participates in the brainstorming exercises, the wireframing exercises. We have engineers participating in user research, which is super, super awesome. The designers, Stefan and Hannah, they understand data and they use data to drive their decisions. It's really a nice mix where everybody is familiar and comfortable with wearing multiple hats. That's super, super important. And one thing that I think really helps us get there is kind of having standard processes for how we go about doing things. So this is our standard spec template or experiment brief template. Basically, we call out the important things at the top. Who owns this test? And again, what's really awesome is that in my past as a product manager, I've seen it where as a product manager, I'm writing all these test briefs. But no, at Strava, we actually have encouraged engineers to write test briefs, Stefan and Hannah writing test briefs. Everybody on the team is owning a test and making really critical decisions. And I think it's super important to be able to move quickly. We can't ship 600 tests if it's 1 p.m. or a couple PMs just trying to make all the decisions. It would be too difficult. We then make it super clear, okay, what platform, but also we make it super clear what metric this test is trying to move. Because again, I talked about we have the 2 primary metrics, but then we also have these other secondary metrics that we try to go after. So listing all these out in a uniform fashion really helps us move quickly. Once we ship that out, we now have a dashboard called OneRing. This is a Tableau dashboard. If you're familiar with Amplitude or Interana, there's all sorts of other products that help you do this. Basically, this is a self-serve dashboard where anybody can go in and look at, okay, for this A/B test, what is the impact on really any metric? We have so many things in here you can filter down to. For this one, what I'm showing is we have upload, trial steps, registration flow completed, follow rate. So we can see, okay, did this test increase upload rate? Did it decrease trial rate? Did it increase follow rate? And we also see it by time box. So remember what I was saying about upload 7? That's our time box. We look at it based on, okay, 7 days after registration. But we can even look at 28 days after registration for any long-running tests, all that kind of stuff. And for this test, it had a small impact on upload. It increased 1.98%. Not too bad. Nothing to get too excited over. And then we also have 7 days of statistical significance on the right. So basically, when a test gets to StatSig, the field automatically goes green. So having this tool allows us to really not have to go super, super heavy into data every single day. It all just actually comes out to us, and we're able to make really, really quick decisions on that. And speaking of the decisions on that, more things, seeing cohort over time, so control versus variant A, how many people are getting cohorted in over time. But speaking of this decision, so after every A/B test, you're making all sorts of decisions, you learn things, you have these great insights, and you might throw it into a doc somewhere. But we've actually found it's really, really helpful to have that all consolidated into a single slideshow. I mean, it doesn't matter what format it is, but for us, a slideshow is work. This Google Slides is hundreds of slides long, and we have a slide for every single A/B test. And all those A/B tests, we're constantly recording. Let's try again. There we go. So we're constantly recording what were the variants that we tested. We really want to make it visible what screenshots were, or what the actual designs looked like. Which one was the winner? What did the data look like? How did we impact uploads? How did we impact follows? All that kind of stuff. We even have a little bit of the hypothesis up there. And you can see we still do have the doc link. We still do have those docs, but those docs are planning things. And then the slides are really where we have the final output. And then we take that and kind of discuss key learnings. We really do try to empower any of the test owners to make decisions on A/B tests, but sometimes it's really hard to make a decision, and we end up getting together basically once a week as a team, The whole growth team comes together. We talk about any A/B test that came back as stat sig. We talk about what the result was, what the outcome was, what decisions were made. And sometimes, if it was just too hard to make a decision, we'll discuss that in the room and kind of get everybody's input before we move forward on which variant to roll out with. So those are kind of the things that we do to make sure that we're actually able to tackle this like chaotic world of activation. Really, it ultimately drives velocity, and it's super fun to be in that environment. I think that's part of the reason why growth is fun. Is you're constantly, as a team, working together to move faster and make more of an impact on kind of the bottom line, the key metrics that, as a company, you really care about. The last thing that I want to mention is that the things that I was talking about, the values of, or like the value props of Strava, these were kind of very deliberate the way that I phrased these. Value number 1, connect athletes to what motivates them. Value number 2, help athletes reach their personal best. That's our mission. Those two combined makes up our mission, and we actually have that. We just got a mural in our office. And Paulo on Tuesday, I don't know if you were here, but he was talking about when you're experimenting, you don't want to just like go off and experiment. You want to have a North Star, and that's our North Star. Ultimately, that's our company North Star, but also we want to reflect that throughout activation, throughout onboarding. Those are the things that we care about. And so that's really how we've driven our process. Yeah. By the way, thank you very much. We are hiring. If you have any interest on the research side, as a product manager, data analyst, and then also as a product designer, feel free to shoot me an email, or I'll be kind of here afterwards as well. And then otherwise, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to respond and help out, grab coffee, do anything like that, however I can be helpful. Thank you so much.